A meeting between ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule and the party's NEC Integrity Commission is underway after the former Free State Premier volunteered to appear before the Commission. Professor Somadoda Fikeni is a political analyst. He joins us now to talk more about it. So, Prof, let's talk about the expectations of a showdown. Is this wishful thinking?
Well, I do think that history tells us that a showdown turns out to be merely a negotiation of spaces, knowing that this is very important symbolically, but the substance historically shows that the Integrity Committee has severe limitations because they still have to go back to the very same NEC whose members indicated and to the very same top six whose members are indicated. And that is a deep contradiction structurally.
And what you're referring to, there are those who say that Ace Magashule volunteered to appear before the Commission precisely because he knows it has no teeth. Is this being cynical?
Well, there is an element of truth in that, but at the same time, the symbolism is very important to say. Remember now, the President, the Secretary General, and many other important leaders have subjected themselves to this same process. But the saber rattling behind the scenes, where they are saying that the whole issue will be decided in the branches, suggests that the political battle is brewing outside the Integrity Committee and alongside the legal processes.
How do we distinguish between a credible process against the external hype of an outcome that speaks to the Commission having all the requisite power to execute its powers? And meaning there are expectations out there that if the Commission is doing its job, he will be found guilty. But yet, at the same time, this happens against the backdrop of those constraints that we've just referred to. So how do we distinguish what would be a real and credible outcome?
The only credible outcome will actually happen if there is political will on the part of the NEC and some degree of consensus on what steps to take once recommendations from the Integrity Committee comes. But in a divided ANC at this moment, which is deeply factionalized, which has weaponized virtually every other instance of legal challenges, or even suspensions or step aside, then the chances of that succeeding are minimal at this stage.
So, is the issue of raising the elective conference resolution on members facing criminal charges imperative or central to this process?
It is central, but at the same time, if you look at the track record of the resolutions of the ANC being implemented to the fullest, both the letter and the spirit, then you will be disappointed because there is a very low rate where they've followed through. And right now, the legal technicalities that have been raised might actually be used as a decoy to postpone and deal with the matter politically instead of its technical, legal, or ethical dimension.
And I want to, focus on that. The ANC president himself lamenting the fact that there has had to be a legal opinion sought on this. You mentioned the issue of political will that will predetermine whether or not this process is indeed credible. So should the Commission recommend that Magashule step aside, do you foresee the NEC then enforcing that proposal?
Well, I doubt, given the fact that there is the National General Council coming next year, and the fact that the position of the Secretary General has become so central in making sure that he mobilizes on the ground to gain support and to preempt any action that would be taken against him. So I do think that he will fight this politically, and he will try to access the branches, and he may try to prolong the process of any decision-making. And also remember that there are many other leaders who are facing the same prospect. Therefore, they are in leadership roles. they are less likely going to be enthusiastic about implementing recommendations of the Integrity Committee.
What is the worst case scenario here? And I'm talking from the perspective of those who believe that it's time that the AC gets a handle on these allegations of corruption and senior members being implicated in them. There was talk of being even-handed, but the question then arises that if you first say there must be a case-by-case basis, analytical process to this, why do you then have the Secretary General appear before the Commission in the vein that there will be equal application then of the process to other people who are accused?
Well, I do think that there may not be a contradiction in him appearing before the Integrity Committee, because other members might as well say when they have a legal challenge, I want to go present myself voluntarily. We have seen the same with Deputy President David Mabuza, when there were many questions before he took the position of Deputy Presidency of the country. He volunteered to go before the Integrity Committee. But at another level, you would then ask a simple question. Does the Integrity Committee have the technical resources to make a legal determination as to when a particular case passes the threshold to say this person is likely to be implicated legally? And if you take that technical application, then you wouldn't have that capacity within the Integrity Committee. They would rely on the same SIUs, and SIU processes may take longer, and the issue then will be raised, how long will you wait for the legal process? That is the main problem, that they have to make a determination as to whether the bar is lowered to deal with the legal technicalities or the bar is high enough to deal with the ethical considerations.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us. Professor Somadoda Fikeni, political analyst.